Welcome to our brand new channel. Earth is where we live and it's completely wild. It's hard to imagine that the same planet where we scroll through Twitter and argue over pointless things has also witnessed some of the most serious and seriously absurd historical events. And in that spirit, we're kicking things off with 25 random history facts that are bizarre, hilarious, and downright absurd. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps us out and fuels our dreams of world domination. Without further ado, let's dive into some history madness. Napoleon versus the bunnies, 1807. The great Napoleon Bonaparte once organized a rabbit hunt. When the rabbits were released from their cages, instead of fleeing, they charged at him and his men. The hunter became the hunted. He may have conquered Europe, but those bunnies left their mark. The trial of a pig, 1386. In France, a pig was arrested, put on trial, and executed for killing a child. It wasn't uncommon in the Middle Ages to put animals on trial, but it's still as bizarre as it sounds. The shortest war in history, 1896. On August 27, 1896, the Anglo-Zanzibar War began and ended 38 minutes later. One British sailor was wounded, while about 500 Zanzibaris were either killed or injured. Half a football match lasts longer than this war. Andrew Jackson's foul-mouthed parrot, 1845. At President Andrew Jackson's funeral, his pet parrot had to be removed for swearing so loudly that it disrupted the service. Rest in peace, President Jackson. And also, your very vocal parrot. Einstein declines a presidency, 1952. After Israel's first president passed away, Albert Einstein was offered the role. He declined, stating he wasn't fit for handling people. A genius with atoms, but apparently not with diplomacy. Caligula's horse senator, 1st century AD, Rome's mad emperor Caligula, once threatened to make his horse a senator, believing it would outperform the human politicians. He was assassinated before he could carry out this interesting idea. The tomato trial, 1820. Salem, Massachusetts, held a trial to determine if tomatoes were poisonous. The case ended when Colonel Robert Gibbon Johnson ate an entire basket of tomatoes and lived to tell the tale. The groom of the stool, 16th century, King Henry VIII, had a groom of the stool, whose job was to wipe the king's backside. 4 men held this title and all of them were knighted. Yes, they were literally knighted for that. Pope versus cats, 13th century. Pope Gregory IX declared that cats were linked to devil worship and had them exterminated. Some believe this contributed to the spread of the plague, as rats thrived without their feline predators. Not cool, Gregory, not cool. Death by elephant, ancient Asia. In ancient Asia, elephants were sometimes used to execute prisoners. They could be trained to kill with painful precision or fitted with blades on their tusks. Wild, yet culturally significant. Hitler's Volkswagen Beetle, 1930s. Adolf Hitler commissioned the Volkswagen Beetle as an affordable car for the working class. It was intended to be the people's car, although its legacy far outlived his regime. Julius Caesar's longest year, 46 BCE. Thanks to Julius Caesar, the year 46 BCE lasted 445 days. He added 2 extra leap months to get the Roman calendar in sync with the seasons. It's probably the longest year anyone's ever lived through. Yamaguchi, twice atomic bombed, 1945. Tsutomu Yamaguchi survived the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, only to return home to Nagasaki and survive the second atomic bomb a few days later. Lucky or unlucky? Hard to say. The Voynich Manuscript. This 15th century book, written in an unknown language with indecipherable illustrations, has stumped historians for centuries. Was it a code? A prank? We may never know. Cleopatra and smartphones. Less time separates Cleopatra's reign from the invention of the smartphone than between her reign and the construction of the pyramids. Let that sink in. LBJ's bathroom meetings. President Lyndon B. Johnson had the rather unique habit of holding meetings and interviews while sitting on the toilet, exposing his presidential plumbing. Awkward for everyone involved. The Titanic search was a cover-up, 1985. The mission to find the Titanic was actually a cover for a secret military operation to locate lost nuclear submarines. Once that was done, the team went ahead and found the Titanic anyway. Forks were blasphemous, 11th century. When forks were introduced to Italy, religious leaders thought eating with artificial hands was an offense to God. What would they think of Twitter? Hitler's gas problem. According to his medical records, Hitler took up to 30 different medications to control his chronic flatulence. We'll leave the fart jokes to you. Heroin for coughs, 1898 to 1910. In the early 20th century, heroin was marketed as a cough suppressant. Side effects? You guessed it, addiction. The Great Emu War, 1930s. Australia once waged war on emus to control their population. The emus won. The Great Emu War remains a quirky chapter in Australian history. Liechtenstein's 81 soldiers, 1866. Liechtenstein sent 80 soldiers to war, and all returned, plus one. They made a friend. The army was disbanded 2 years later because clearly, Liechtenstein's soldiers were too powerful. The Dancing Plague, 1518. In 1518, residents of Strasbourg began dancing uncontrollably for days, and many eventually died of exhaustion. This dancing plague lasted 2 months, and historians still aren't sure what caused it. Thanks for watching. Let us know your favorite absurd history fact in the comments. Also, we're always open to feedback, so tell us how we can improve this format. Until next time, stay curious, and watch out for those emus.